Welcome back to the channel. It's Roberto Full Curl Precision again. It's kind of an interesting video tonight. There was some conversation back and forth between someone commenting, talking about how you can simply just take a certain amount off the neck and that your bullet's going to stay at the same place. Yeah, not really, and I'll explain why. It has to do with the fact that you still need to maintain a certain amount of tolerance. And by that, it means your case length, you can't just trim it down in the same exact thing past a certain point before you start creating major pressure issues. There's what's called head spacing. And that head spacing, you have to have tolerances to stay as close as possible. If you just lop off a bunch of that neck, yeah, the bullet physically will stay there, but the thing is, it creates problems. So the thing is, whenever you adjust that, you have to keep within tolerances. So if you go to shorten the neck, you have to adjust your tooling to shorten that whole case overall length, which means you have to keep your head space as close to the top of your neck as you possibly can. And so thus, you have to keep your lead and your throat, which combined make your lands, and you have that has to move with your case. You can't just leave it in one place, lop off a bunch of your case, and then expect it to be okay. You're gonna have a catastrophic failure. It's gonna create that. And let me turn the camera around. I'm using the 6.8 Western schematics from Sammy as an example and to show the numbers of the tolerances I'm talking about. Down a little bit. So here's nice part about this computer. There we go. So that's the case, and that's the chamber. So when you go into this, so from your top of your neck to the bottom of your case, notice it says 2.020 through 0.200. So basically, that gives you that's your tolerances. You can have a little more and a little less. And here it is. They translate this into the metric. So you can have as little as that or as much as that. And so you have to stay within a certain tolerance. And your head space is right here. That little narrow. And it's a tiny, tiny difference. Because if we follow this down and we follow over to the numbers, 2.030, 2.0485. So you're talking a difference of 185 ten thousandths. It's a very small amount. So, excuse me, 185 thousandths is what it ends up being. Yeah. So the thing is, you have a small window to be able to have it inside your head spacing. And if you shorten it too much, it creates issues. So you have to stay within certain tolerances. Let me zoom back out. And so yeah, they provide the specs there. If you were to drop it below that 2.020 down to, let's say, 2 or 1.9, it creates too much of a gap right there. So what would happen is your lead and then that's your throat. If they stay in the same place in your head space, stayed the same place, and you were to trim this back where it's further and it's a much shorter neck, you create a weird void. That it can create a massive spike in pressure. And it has. This has been verified through many, many times. This is nothing new. So if you go and just lop off anything, yeah, in theory it stays the same, but you can't really, because you have to factor for staying inside tolerances. So anytime you go to lengthen or shorten a neck, you have to keep within tolerance. So that means when you're making your tooling, you have to factor for the head spacing to stay within tolerance. So all of this would move with that, therefore affecting your case overall length. So all these numbers would start changing in order to keep it from blowing up in your face. That's exactly why it has to move. So here it is. We're going to use this. So let's say your case is 2.020, right? And this gives you a max case overall length of 2955. If you were to try to shorten, if you were to try to lop off, let's say, let's go with this. So you have your length there, and then to the base of your neck is 1.745. So if I pull up a calculator, which I have, let's see. Oh, that's not it. Pull up a calculator. So if I have 2.020 minus 1.7435, that gives me a neck length of 0.2765. And let's say I want to take off 400ths. So minus 0.04, that gives me that. Okay? We're at the border of how safe it is to utilize that case inside that chamber. Much more spacing than that can lead to catastrophic failure. Yes, your head spacing matters. You can't just lop off and do that. So let's say we were to make it from, we're going to clear it out. So we have, again, the 2.020 minus 1.7435 equals that, minus, let's say, minus 0.0765. That gives you 0.2. That's a massive difference. Okay? That's a massive difference. So yeah, in theory, the bullet stays the same, but you're going to blow your gun up. So go ahead. To the guy who wanted to argue with that, if you want to test that out and you want to do that, go ahead. By all means, go for it. Fair warning, it's a bad idea. I don't think you should. But if you want to argue that you can just simply lop it off and expect the gun to function, you're dead wrong. And here's another side of it too that you need to think about when you're engineering. Because it's one thing to reload, it's another to engineer. Your tooling all has to be the same. So let me put that down. When you design your chamber, it's not just simply a matter of, oh, they have this tool that comes in here, cuts this. There are some tooling that you can extend your throat a little bit, but not by a whole lot. The vast majority of the reamers that are cut this is all connected. So when you look at this, so your throat, your lead, your head spacing, your neck, your shoulder, and your body are all in one tool. So I can't just simply slap something together and expect it to be okay. There's modifications that have to go with it. So, yeah, if you think you can do this and do it safely, and if you think you can do it better, go for it. I'm on the first name basis with tooling guys that make custom tools for the big names of the industry. And you think I'm worried about what some guy is doing as a hand loader at home? Yeah, Not to mention the guy that I'm dealing with has been doing it for 50 years. He's not just a reloader, he's a machinist. So, no, I'm not going to take the advice of somebody who's been reloading for 20 years over the advice of somebody who's been building the tooling and rifles for 50. Yeah, there's a reason why I'm going to stay the course and listen to the advice of those far more experienced. You can't just cut that off. That whole lead and throat have to move with that down to keep within tolerances so your gun doesn't blow up in your face. Okay? That's the reality. And when it's all said and done, why would I shorten the neck anyway? Oh, but you're not utilizing the whole neck. How is this a problem? It's not. Because guess what? If I have a longer bullet, it can seat down a little bit further. If I have a shallower bullet, it still seats over here. As long as I'm doing it where it's not just barely hanging on, that's not an issue. Having a slightly longer neck is not going to be a problem. So, I'm going to continue with it. Not to mention, having that slightly longer neck allows me to load powder all the way up right into there. I'm going to use the case this time. But see, imagine this bullet comes in, and let's say it's extra long. It can come down into here, not too much of an issue. But let's say I get one that's slightly shorter, and it comes down, let's say the boat tail is right in here. Okay, not a big deal. Let's say it comes in, and then the boat tail starts over here. How is that a problem? If I shorten that neck down, the issue I create is that I don't have a whole lot to grip. That also means I have to then have a smaller window of bullet selection that I can use. Having that longer neck allows me to seat out to a certain extent without having to seat out a ton. And the further I seat out, again, the less advantage I have, because there's only one way to add weight into a caliber. I can't make it fatter. I have to add length. So if I add length, that's one thing. It's easy to add length. But when I start chopping it off and making it shorter, no. The length that's on this 270 that I'm working with to be able to create the new cartridge allows me to seat down into a 130 grain and a 140 grain comfortably. Easy. Okay? So why would I shortchange myself? For someone's crappy opinion? No. This gives me the opportunity to keep things where I have a wide variety. It also allows me to not have to, keep adjusting. I can literally fire for my own brass. I have all the advantages of this. Again, I've been doing a deep dive of the exact details in the machining side of it, not the reloading side of it. So, you can say whatever you want. You're allowed to disagree with me. I don't care. If you feel like you can do better, go do better. Go, as I said, I dare you to go do that, to lop off 5 or 6 hundredths off your neck, shoot it, and see what happens. Just fair warning, if you're dumb enough to go do that, it's on you. So, yeah. Are you going to win this one? No, you're not going to win this one. Because I already know what happens. I've been there and watched guys do it. So, am I going to simply shorten it because, somebody has a garbage opinion? No, I'm not listening to that. That's bad advice. So I don't have to seat it down further. I'm trying to do my best to keep it out of the powder reservoir to maximize my volume. Why is that a problem? Because it's not how you would want to build it? Okay, cool. Good for you. Would you like a cookie? No. Go build your own if you're so dedicated into this. Oh, but you're not, because you're not dedicated into this. So, to those who are and understand and have been there and understand exactly what I'm talking about, I appreciate you. To the guys who want to come in and try to just poo-poo on this because they're too stupid to understand, there's other channels. Go elsewhere. I don't have to cater to you. So, You can either ask questions so you can learn, or if you want to assume you know better than the guys I've been talking to, go ahead. You can do whatever you want. But I'm not required to listen to you. So, there you go. That's my gripe for tonight. And we'll talk to you again.